What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Savvy, and welcome back to the Savvy Show. And in today's episode, guys, I think we have another juicy one on our hands. It looks pretty scary by just the title and the thumbnail alone. But before we get ahead of ourselves, this is SCP-5031, another murder monster. It gotta be scary. Hopefully it has some dope abilities. I want to see something unique compared to all the scary ones that we've seen thus far. I might be asking for too much, but let's hope that we get what we need. If you guys are excited for this reaction, you guys in store to see what's going to happen, remember to smash that like button. It really helps the channel grow, and it takes less than a second, and it's free. And also remember to smash the sub button as well too. If you do enjoy my content, if you do tune in to my videos and you haven't smashed that red button yet, I don't know what you're doing. This is the best place to tune in for daily SCP reactions. And I'm telling you, if you like my reaction style, it's a no-brainer. I'd love for you to join the family. We don't bite, we just go full throttle. So let's get it done together. And remember, also turn on post notifications so you do not miss an upload. With how YouTube is nowadays, if you want to see my videos right when they get posted, just hit that button and stay plugged. So yeah, with all out the way, remember, shout out to SCP Exposed Foundation Tales Animated. They're the ones bringing this animation for us today for me to react to. So with all out the way, without any further ado, let's get this show started. All right, SCP-503, another murder monster. Let's go.
It was 7 p.m., and the janitor was just beginning his night shift at the top secret government facility warehouse. He was sweeping the floors of the main building when he suddenly sensed someone standing behind him. The hairs on his neck stood up on end, and he suddenly felt very afraid. He turned around and saw a strange-looking creature before him. I say before him, it was actually floating about half a meter from the ground, its body swaying back and forth. He didn't wait around to see what it wanted with him.
Good.
He ran as fast as he could out of the building and all the way home.
Damn.
When he got home, he called his bosses to report what he had seen. But
I'm surprised the monster didn't catch up to him. Hey, let's keep it going. Maybe he's a track star in the past. Who knows?
All the way home. When he got home, he called his bosses to report what he had seen. But they just laughed it off. They told him he must have imagined it.
Typical.
It was a few hours later when he heard a knock at the door. His nerves were still on edge, and he jumped at the sound. When he opened the door, he saw a smartly dressed man standing there. The man showed him his identification, and he was an agent with the Foundation. He asked the janitor if he could describe exactly what he had seen at the government facility.
What?
The agent then asked the janitor to take him to the warehouse. When they got there, they both entered the main building. A few seconds later, they both sensed something behind them. The agent pulled out a walkie-talkie and spoke into it.
Back up. Foundation personnel needed at warehouse number 9 to help contain an unknown entity.
But then his voice was cut off as the creature pounced. Welcome back to SCP Exposed.
Interesting.
Before I go on, please make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any creepy SCP stories. Today, we bring you Keter Class Object SCP-5031. SCP-5031 is a non-sapient quasi-humanoid. It is a strange-shaped creature with an abnormally small head and virtually no
Hold on, let me hear that
neck.
again. Quasi?
It's 5031. Class Object SCP-5031. SCP-5031 is a non-sapient quasi-humanoid. It is a strange-shaped creature with an abnormally small head and virtually no visible neck. Its elongated torso measures 1.9 meters, and it has 3 lower arm limbs bracing out from each of its elbows. The bottom of its pelvis ends abruptly in a crescent-shaped protrusion.
He looks dummy awkward.
Tissue, the lower edge of which is blade-like. The creature levitates approximately 0.5 meters above the ground.
His tail literally looks like a scythe. That looks pretty dope, low-key. I wonder if he uses that to cut his victims or something.
When directly observed, it will temporarily cease to exist until the viewer stops observing the space that it formerly occupied. However, traces of its existence, such as scratch marks or bloody trails, do continue to exist when SCP-5031 does not.
Was it bleeding?
Although video and photography equipment are unable to capture its appearance, observing its shadow does not cause it to cease existing.
Ooh.
Therefore, we have been able to determine its physiological characteristics from its silhouette.
That's interesting that they're saying it ceased to exist. It's not just saying it disappears. So how would they know it's actually not existing anymore? Was the entity actually erased from reality? When you look at it, it was never born or created, whatever. That's kind of weird that they're saying that instead of just disappearing, because those are two completely different things. Oh.
While the creature has no nutritional needs, it will nevertheless hunt and consume any human or animal it encounters.
It looks so
by
goofy.
using its pendulous lower body to down targets. SCP-5031 does not sleep and is incapable of expression or verbal communication.
Huh.
The creature has been contained in an airtight iron cell in Biosite 59
Yeah,
for
how-
more than
how you
10
can-
years. The structure has been checked on a bi-weekly basis for any imperfections. During the last 10 years, there has been no interaction with the creature.
Wow.
On the 14th of February 2018, senior researcher Stanley Huxtable took on the role of HCL supervisor for SCP-5031. He began corresponding with site director Yosef Mostafi in order to elucidate research progress. The
Okay.
following is a selection of relevant correspondences between the two.
I have no idea who wrote this, but there's a lot I'd like to say to them. I'm not a fan of abandoning a living creature inside a metal box for 10 years.
Are you kidding
No
me?
matter how pragmatic it may be.
Stanley Huxtable wrote about his initial impressions.
Bro, that makes no damn sense. Isn't that your whole reason of creating this foundation? To secure SCPs so they won't, danger humankind? Y'all really want to sit here and say, I feel bad for, doing what you guys stand for? That makes no sense. Maybe, oh no. That just didn't, sit well with me. Let's just keep it going.
It's difficult to fathom that such things were considered the norm a decade ago. Have you ever heard something scream from behind 10 inches of iron for hours on end? When I do my redraft, remind me to add anomalous resistance to hoarseness somewhere in the description. I'd like to run some tests that require exposing SCP-5031 to certain stimuli.
Why?
On the 8th of March, Stanley Huxtable began round 1 of his testing with sounds.
And how are you going to do that if you can't, I wonder if you see it. Okay, so I'm assuming if you look at it, it stops existing, right? Would that be the same if you look at it from a camera? Or some other kind of visual that is not particularly on him, like you're looking at a TV or camera of that SCP, would it still not exist? Or when you just look at it, in the same room, that's when it stops ceasing to exist. And what's with the blood? What's with the blood too? It doesn't look like it's bleeding, and then it leaves traces like scratch marks. I can understand that, but where's the blood coming from?
I installed speakers in the containment vestibule and played various albums of natural ambience and popular music. The creature's propensity for screaming worked as a convenient way to measure its stress levels. 100% would be considered its typical screaming over 48 hours, and 0% would be no screaming at all. Both
Is this dude in pain? Why is he screaming? Is he just being a little bitch about it?
volume and duration were recorded. Huxtable found that music served a slight decrease in stress levels in the creature. Further experiments are currently undergoing. On the 22nd of March, Huxtable began round 2 of testing. This was concerning the creature's ability to play.
Okay.
When he threw a softball into the enclosure, the creature sliced the ball in two.
Damn.
When he rolled a bowling ball into the enclosure, the creature scratched a couple of grooves into the ball, then rolled the ball around the enclosure with the blunt end of its tail for 20 minutes. Its stress levels remained less than 60% after play.
That's
Although
insane,
it wasn't
wow.
planned as part of the test, a bowling ball that was chipped and would no longer roll properly was rolled in. The creature's stress levels increased to more than 115%. When a replacement
What?
bowling ball was provided, its stress levels fell back to around 40%. Finally, a basketball was tossed into the enclosure.
He's gonna slice that.
SCP-5031 picked it up and played with it. The creature's stress levels remained at less than 20% after play. After the completion of round 2 testing, Huxtable concluded that SCP-5031 had begun to use its hands to play with the basketball, possibly to avoid accidentally damaging it.
This guy's trying
Its
to go
motor
in.
skills were comparable to that of a toddler. The creature still preferred
For
the
real.
bowling ball for kicking. On the 5th of April, round 3 testing on foods began. SCP-5031 was given the choice between 2 potential food sources placed at opposite ends of the
see.
enclosure.
I hope the other dude was a D
The
class.
results were as follows. When a human corpse was offered together with a pig carcass, the creature chose the pig carcass. Between a pig carcass and a chicken carcass, it opted for the pig carcass.
Okay.
Next, a pig carcass was offered with a rotisserie chicken.
Oh, you better pick
It
the
chose
chicken.
the rotisserie chicken.
Hey, he knows what's up.
When a live chicken was
Yo.
put in the enclosure with a rotisserie chicken, it again opted for the rotisserie chicken.
Oh yeah, this guy's on my
Finally,
vibe.
a roasted turkey was placed in it with a rotisserie chicken.
Chicken.
SCP-5031
Chicken.
chose neither of them. It was presumed that its appetite was sated. The final conclusion drawn after round 3
Wait,
of testing.
appetite. Wait, he doesn't need to eat though. Okay, this is not making that much sense. I thought he doesn't need to eat. I know he probably can still eat, but he doesn't really need it, right? But I'm assuming he was just picking it just to pick it. But if he's actually eating it, like, how is his appetite if he doesn't? Oh, whatever. Let's just keep it going.
Was that whilst it was true that the creature didn't necessarily need to eat, feeding it regularly had caused a marked decrease in average stress levels. Stress reduction appeared to scale proportionally with the quality of food provided. Also noted was that the creature preferred to use its tail to pry and cut meat into bite-sized portions, rather than rip the meat into chunks with its teeth or hands. The round 4 tests on coexistence began on the 12th of April, the summary of which is as follows. In the first test, SCP-5031 was fed until sated.
He didn't even cut his food.
A live subject matter, the common chicken, was introduced to the enclosure.
Okay.
The creature observed the subject from a distance for several minutes and then rolled a bowling ball toward the subject at high speed. The chicken was killed instantly. SCP-5031's stress levels rose immediately and drastically. In the second test, a live common chicken was once again introduced to the enclosure, but this time the bowling balls were removed.
Okay, I'm assuming the first iteration of the test, he was trying to play with the chicken because it was a live entity, and the chicken died, which probably upset the SCP creature. That's why his stress levels got higher, because he wanted to play with someone, but it literally killed him, and he probably didn't know like it was going to kill him. But let's see the second test. I could be wrong though.
SCP-5031 was fed until sated. This time, the creature gently rolled a basketball toward the subject.
Okay.
The ball hit the chicken lightly. The chicken responded with a small cry and moved away. SCP-5031 did not engage with the subject any further. In the third test, the creature was fed until sated. A live subject matter, Class D, was blindfolded and then introduced to the enclosure. It was instructed to sit and roll the basketball forward, then wait until it came back and roll it away again. The subject and the creature successfully rolled the ball back and forth several times.
He wants someone to play with.
The creature eventually abandoned the activity and approached the subject. As per safety protocol, the subject removed their blindfold to terminate the activity. In Test 4, the creature was fed until sated. Once again, live subject matter Class D was introduced to the enclosure.
And that's crazy. If you guys caught that, it said terminate. So it's still, they're double downing on this dude is getting erased. He's ceasing to exist. How is that working? How does that work? I doubt they'll go in depth about that aspect, because that's so far the most interesting part of this SCP, at least for me, that it could just disappear from all traces of reality. Like, it's kind of crazy to think, but I mean, with SCPs, you never know what you're gonna get.
This time, the subject was instructed to toss a tennis ball at the wall, let it ricochet behind them, then catch and repeat. The creature stood behind the subject and successfully engaged in a game of catch, mimicking the subject's action of letting the ball ricochet against the wall. The final conclusion was that SCP-5031's motor skills appeared to be rapidly improving. The round 5 tests on symbols began on the 16th of May. 5 LCD displays were fitted into the wall of SCP-5031's enclosure, each with a lit button and a food dispenser underneath it. In the first test, 2 stations were activated. On screen, one was displayed the image of a rock. Its button dispensed rocks.
The hell?
Screen 2 displayed the image of a rotisserie chicken. Its button dispensed pieces of chicken. The creature poked at the image of a chicken for a few minutes and eventually hit the button. Chicken was then dispensed until the creature was satisfied.
He knows the vibe.
In the second test, the screen displayed and the materials dispensed were swapped.
Why are you playing with it?
The creature hit the button it had hit the previous day and received a rock.
Why are you playing with him?
Then went to the other screen and hit the button to dispense chicken. In the third test, the screen displays and materials dispensed were swapped back to their original positions and set to swap again at random intervals after the first distribution.
Y'all just want him to act up.
SCP-5031 went directly to the button next to the image of a chicken. It experienced apparent confusion after the first mid-distribution swap, but quickly learned to watch the images. In Test 4, 3 more stations, screens, buttons, and dispensers were activated. 4 stations displayed the word rock and dispensed rocks. 1 station displayed the word chicken and dispensed chicken. The arrangement was set to change randomly several times over the following days. Through trial and error, the creature determined which station dispensed chicken.
Damn.
The creature subsequently went to the station marked chicken whenever the displays were swapped. In the fifth test, only the letters chicken were displayed. Wooden blocks were positioned so that the creature could spell out the word. An hour passed, and the creature still had not figured out how to dispense the chicken.
Yeah, this is
It
hard
hit
for
the
him.
wall with its tail in anger. Then, once it realized the wooden blocks could be pushed down, it successfully assembled the word chicken.
Bro.
Huxtable wrote to Yusef and told him that he had concluded that SCP-5031 could learn language. On the 29th of August,
Yo, that's
the round
crazy.
6 tests on vocabulary began. Huxtable wrote that SCP-5031 had learned to use letter blocks to form many words, including tofu, beef, bread, Mozart,
What?
volume, silence, basketball, cat, dog, human, and alone.
Mozart? How do you get...
Huxtable concluded
Bro.
that through its increased vocabulary and human interaction, SCP-5031 had made much cognitive and physical progress. The Round 7 testing on activities began on the 5th of October. In the first test, Huxtable introduced a table, some paper and crayons into the enclosure.
Okay.
The live subject, D52125, was instructed to demonstrate drawing for the creature. Eventually, the creature learned how to draw. Discernible subjects depicted in its artworks included D52125, the creature, a rotisserie chicken, a cat, and Huxtable himself. In the second test,
That's
a piano
crazy.
was introduced into the enclosure. The live subject, D52125, was instructed to play chopsticks blindfolded.
That's pretty impressive. I'm just saying. He must be a pretty talented D-class.
And to invite the creature to play along. The subject had time to practice beforehand.
Oh, okay.
The creature learned chopsticks in 2 days, though it appeared more interested in making its own original music.
Look at this
complete with
dude.
vocals. These compositions might be considered crude by human standards. In the third
He's
test, a
vibing,
spice
though.
rack was introduced into the enclosure. The live subject, D52125, was instructed to demonstrate seasoning meats. The creature spent almost 3 straight days experimenting with different combinations of
What the
foods and
heck?
spices.
This is
The
crazy.
creature assembled the words more with its letter blocks after running out of garlic powder.
Wow.
The final testing, round 8, was on cooking. Basic cooking facilities were installed in the enclosure, and a live subject was instructed to demonstrate the preparation of various
How
recipes.
much could this guy evolve?
As with all the previous rounds, the creature was soon able to copy everything the live subject was doing.
Wow.
However, it was also discovered that the creature had a severe peanut allergy. Huxtable said that it should be included in the revised containment procedures. He also noted that
Allergic
the
to
creature was
peanuts.
now a better chef than the average human, and it had begun to create its own recipes.
Okay, this is ridiculous. What's the limit of this SCP? How far could this guy go? Like, in terms of just being really smart. Like, what the heck? He's making his own recipes now?
D52125 had volunteered to taste test. The creature was given 2 months in which to prepare a 3-course meal to serve at the Biosite 59 cafeteria to personnel working over Thanksgiving.
I'm
The
blown.
creature successfully produced the meal, and whilst the personnel enjoyed their meal, it entertained them by playing its original composition.
Get the fuck out of here, bro. Like, yo, what? No way. Yo, this is an SCP, bro. Okay, I need to chill. This is getting ridiculous for real. This guy's cooking for D classes along with playing music for him, bro. Where they do that at, bro? Like, this is hella funny, bro. I thought it was gonna be something crazy, scary, per se. But hey, I'm fine to laugh. Oh
Piano concerto for 6 hands, live from its enclosure.
my god.
Personnel's response was overwhelmingly positive, and SCP-5031's stress levels were at 0%. Testing was successfully concluded, and revised documentation submitted for approval.
Wow.
What do you think of that SCP case?
Wow.
Please comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss out on any other SCP cases.
That's impressive. More than anything else, I think. Let me just say that.
Personnel's response was overwhelmingly positive, and SCP-5031's stress levels were at 0%.
Yeah, that's insane. What all the testing that they did for this SCP, the guy that took charge of that felt bad for the SCP just being chilling by himself. In the beginning, I was like, yo, like, why are you feeling bad? But like after seeing everything, he was onto something. This dude is like super smart. This SCP, and that's not even the limit for him. He could probably get a lot smarter too. He's a way better cook now, and he plays his own pieces on a piano, guys. Like, yo, this was crazy. Oh my god. I wonder. I want to see like an update because they concluded the testing, but I want to see like would he still evolve after the testing is like complete, because he evolved this much because the SCP Foundation, did stuff to help him, evolve. But I want to see if you'll like try to find a way to like get out or like, start something going on with other SCPs, because this dude's getting pretty smart. And the only thing that I really want to find out still is the erasing from existence part. I know that's probably just like, a part of its powers, but why not just disappear? Is there a reason why it's completely getting erased? Terminated? Because they said terminated when it disappeared, when someone's looking at him, and then just said erased, like doesn't exist anymore. Like, how does that work? So yeah, just let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I had a great time reacting to this. This was an insane, interesting SCP. I love the way they went around leveling it up per se, compared to is just wrecking havoc with humans and everything. Interesting. I'm assuming this will be a safe though. I don't know if they classified it, but I'm sure this is a safe SCP. There's no way it's Keter. So yeah, I think it's safe. Maybe Euclid, but who knows? So with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this reaction, please remember to smash that like button. Also smash the sub button if you made it all the way to the end. If you guys did and you didn't sub, what are you doing? Because come on, help a brother out. So, and remember to turn on post notifications so you do not miss an upload. So with that all out the way, unfortunately, that concludes today's episode. However, I'll catch you guys on the next one. With